Welcome to The Better Life with Dr. Mary Ann Pinkston. Join Dr. Pinkston today as she teaches you how an integrative approach to health, combining holistic and contemporary medical information, can lead you to the better life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Mary Ann Pinkston.
Hello, everybody. I am Dr. Mary Ann Pinkston, and this is The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston. And we are talking today a great topic, and I'm bringing in my good friend, Warren Lesser. Where are you? You're in Ohio or Virginia. Where are you again?
Kentucky.
You know, one of those states out there, right? You can't get out of Texas, so we don't believe anybody else exists out there, right? So yeah,
right.
With Magna Pharmaceuticals, and so you guys have been so good to me, been a great source of support and sponsor, and I really appreciate you. And the only reason you are a sponsor is because I believe very, very much in the products that you have, and so happy to have you on. And we are going to talk about today kind of immune system stuff and histamine disorders and all these wonderful things that everybody is wanting to know about. It's a hot topic. So Dr. Lesser, welcome in. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. So good to be here. You're always so genial. I appreciate your warm welcome.
Thank you. Well, so I guess I know you've got some slides today, and so if you are ready, we can jump in and I will let you take the floor, sir. Great topic.
We are ready to roll. The more I read and study about the immune system, the more amazed I am as to how complex the whole immune system is.
Right.
And the immune system is built to protect us, to protect our health, to protect our lives. But we, in this slide, these arrows moved over somehow. But we have a lot of choices that we can make to affect the health of our immune system and, of course, our own health. And it starts with the way we think about and the choices we have, so many different options we have with respect to lifestyle choices, which lead to behaviors, which of course lead to habits, and then lead to good health and hopefully longevity. So we're going to talk today about free radicals. There's been a lot of conversation. There is an ongoing much conversation about free radicals, about the benefits of antioxidants, and then we're going to roll into sleep. How does sleep interface with the immune system? Yeah. And we're going to talk about some maybe good sleep hygiene. And then this time of year, I don't know, it depends on where you are. I know in Texas, you all have 3 allergy seasons. Yes. I don't know about the plains, how badly they are. But here in Louisville, Kentucky, we have a lot of bad allergies. We're typically one of the top 3 cities in the country. And not only that, we're in the Ohio Valley. So not only do we get the allergens from the plants, but we get a lot of pollution because of everything that's trapped here. So that's our outline. And let's jump right in. There are mediators of inflammation that many of us have heard about before: prostaglandins, cytokines, histamines. There are other mediators as well. I'm just giving a few: interleukins, tumor necrosis factor, leukotrienes. That goes on a substance P. The number of mediators of inflammation and the chemicals that are involved in the immune system are just not fully understood. There's so many of them, and the interplay of these substances takes place not only in the cells but between the cells, so that these substances play a major role in the homeostasis of our bodies and also in the inflammatory processes. Now, sometimes these inflammatory processes and our immune system becomes over-exaggerated, and unfortunately our immune system tries to overcompensate. For example, COVID-19. There was something called the cytokine storm. So cytokines are mediators of inflammation, but they get out of control and it leads into all kinds of problems, not only on the acute basis, but also in the chronic phase of COVID-19, where people came down with ARDS and just sleep issues, fibromyalgia, pneumonia, even death long term. So histamine is another one of these mediators that helps to regulate the sleep and wake cycle, and it also affects our cognitive function. So too much histamine, it can make us sleepy. We don't think it's clearly. Just the right amount of histamine is what we need. But actually, the histamine response results in an upper respiratory allergic response, which is associated with allergic rhinitis symptoms. Now, that's systemic response is similar to the local response that we see with prostaglandins. For example, with prostaglandins, they're related to, in the left picture here, I have a picture of a sprained finger.
Right.
Okay, so that's acute. So what happens when someone sprains their finger, their ankle, wrist, whatever? What are the classic signs and symptoms? Heat, redness, swelling, pain, and loss of function. Well, some of those same signs and symptoms can be applied systemically, so that, for example, when you have long-term prostaglandin and long-term inflammation, it leads to deformity. For example, these are rheumatoid arthritis hands right here. So there's a difference, but prostaglandins play a role in both short-term and long-term. And really, when you think about systemic inflammation, which is what we're going to talk about mostly today, there are causes and consequences of systemic chronic inflammation, SCI, which we'll use that acronym SCI as we go forward. So some of the causes of SCI have to do with maybe, this is unbelievable, physical inactivity can lead to systemic chronic inflammation. Certain bug bites, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Of course, it's treatable, but some people are left with long-term issues. Obesity interferes with many metabolic functions and can lead to systemic chronic inflammation, gastrointestinal disturbances, diet, isolation, and chronic stress affects our immune system. Okay, it leads to systemic chronic inflammation. Disturbed sleep, we're going to talk about. Then this is a large category right here called xenobiotics, which has to do with drugs and chemicals in the environment that we take in that maybe we don't even know about, or maybe we do know about some of them, but we do willfully. So the consequences of long-term chronic inflammation, systemic inflammation, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular, stroke, of course, cancer, interestingly, also can lead to depression, autoimmune and neurodegenerative diseases such as ALS or Parkinson's, or, like I mentioned, rheumatoid arthritis. Sarcopenia happens with aging, and it has to do with chronic inflammation leading to an unusual or let's say, expressed amount of loss of muscle become older. And then immunosenescence is as we get older, because of chronic inflammation, especially, our immune systems become weaker. So one of the things that we look at when we look at the causes is that we have choices to make. As I went back from the first slide, really to talk about our thinking. I can't stand this slide right here, this figure, the smoker's body. Yeah. It is a tragic picture when you think about it. Right. And I don't think really people understand the effects of tobacco.
Correct.
Not only smoking, but even other forms of tobacco. For example, chewing tobacco can lead to Berger's disease down here. And Berger's disease is, have you ever had a patient with Berger's disease, Dr.?
Every once in a while, I'll have somebody come in with Berger's disease. Tragic, horrible.
Right. And I mean, this person here, or this figure, has an amputated right leg. And that's what it leads to. I mean, you're talking about a destruction in your circulation, your microcapillaries and your nerves.
Correct.
And then there are so many other problems. For example, psoriasis, and I don't even know if I can read my own slide here. But hearing loss, cataracts, emphysema. Of course, we know about that. Osteoporosis, heart changes, stomach problems. It goes on. There's a list of 14 items here, just to show you, though, how some of our own choices can interfere with our own immune system. Absolutely. Yeah. This guy over here on the right, the drugs that we take into our bodies, guess what he is? He's a tweaker. And this person right here is a student on Adderall. Now, Adderall doesn't really have maybe any short-term effects, but long-term it can.
Adderall.
So these are some of the choices that we have to make. Now, coffee, apparently there's more and more research coming out that says coffee is good for us, but most things in moderation, right?
In moderation, absolutely.
Like this, do stupid things faster with more energy. Drink coffee.
That's true. All the energy drinks. So it's not coffee these days. It's the energy drinks with all the high dose caffeine. And, one is okay, but it means there's something underneath, right? It means your energy is not good if you're having to dope up with all these things, and something's wrong. We got to figure that out. Yeah.
And you can get the caffeineism where you get the rebound, and then you go from a high to a low. I know.
I drink my coffee. Yeah.
I had my coffee. I have my Sprite Zero over here right now.
There you go.
But yes, and then the time of day where you ingest these substances.
Yeah,
we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But most people, they can drink coffee. They can't drink coffee after 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Some people can drink it at night. I don't know. I can't. So what happens with chronic systemic inflammation and free radicals that come into our bodies, like the slide that we looked at two slides ago, is that results in something called ROS, reactive oxygen species.
Right.
So this is a key marker with respect to systemic inflammation. Now, ROS in small doses or in the right amounts is important for synthesis of DNA, proteins, and lipids. But if there is too much reactive oxygen species, because we've ingested too many free radicals, then it can result in unwanted byproduct substances, mostly because cells and tissues are being damaged. And it also accelerates our aging. So speaking of accelerated aging, so reactive oxygen species and chronic stress can have a very detrimental effect on our hearts. For one thing, we know that oxidative stress leads to atherosclerosis. So what's atherosclerosis? It's the building up of plaque on the inside of our blood vessels. That leads to hypertension because our hearts have to pump harder to get the blood through constricted space, which leads to then heart failure. And of course, ischemia, heart attack, all kind of cascade downward. Yes. Now, with speaking about the heart, one of the markers of inflammation, in fact, right down here it says a high homocysteine level is the main culprit. This is another very important chemical in the immune system that we have to think about. Yeah. And that's maintaining, the point here is maintain our homocysteine levels. These authors, and this is only one article where they talk, these are all peer-reviewed articles, by the way. Everything I'm put up is peer-reviewed.
Pure science.
Medical, right. And I really like meta-analysis where I go into the literature and I look at what predominantly are the researchers saying. Anybody can come out with one study, and you hear it in the news all the time. Oh, there was a new study. It said, the researchers found so-and-so. You have to look at the number of subjects in that study. You have to look at whether or not it was a control study, was it placebo-controlled. You have to look at were their findings corroborated by any other authors. And you look at the methodology and design all the way through, where you can come up with some good conclusions, where you can say, maybe not unequivocally, but almost unequivocally and almost irrefutably, that this is the truth. So
don't believe everything that you read on the internet, is what you're saying.
For sure.
Right. Be cautious about what you read and look at the underlying studies that go with it and information. Absolutely.
Good point. Exactly. But I like what these authors say, because I've seen this in many different studies where they say a high homocysteine level is the main culprit for brain and vascular diseases, strokes, and arteriosclerosis.
Correct.
So what else is really quite interesting here is that they find that a high homocysteine level is inversely associated with B12 and folate levels in the bloodstream. Mm-hmm. So if you have a high homocysteine, you're going to have a deficiency in B12 and folate. And if you have sufficient folate and B12, you're going to have lower homocysteine. It's pretty interesting. And it's a pretty simple approach.
And there's a difference between just B12 and just folate, correct? You've got we'll jump off into a huge pool there, but yeah, the methylated B12, right? Which you are very methylated folate and B12, which you're a huge proponent of.
Well, right, and I guess I have it in another slide, but I'll mention it here. So
right.
You bring up a good point.
Excellent.
If you look at your multivitamin that maybe most people take every day.
Yeah.
And it says B12. They'll look at the form of that B12, and what does it say? Almost guarantee it's cyanocobalamin.
Absolutely.
What you want, Dr. Pinkston, to your point, is methylcobalamin. Methylcobalamin is the only oral form of B12 that's readily absorbed. absorb very well. Not only that, but it crosses the blood-brain barrier. Cyanocobalamin doesn't do that. And so what does that mean? That means B12 is really important for our brain function, our cognitive function. And so you want it going into your brain. So homocysteine, hyperhomocystinemia, too much homocysteine in the blood. And when you get your blood tests, whoever gets, when they go for lab tests, testing for homocysteine levels is a good idea.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to go through this because we really don't have time, but methionine is very important. And methionine comes from red meat and protein, and we need that. And it's synthesized into cysteine. So what happens in the intermediate step when you have too much homocysteine is you don't have enough cysteine. So if you don't have enough cysteine, you have less glutathione and more chronic inflammation. Why is that? Because glutathione is the body's number one main scavenger of free radicals.
Yes.
So it's kind of all relating, if you're all with me and kind of continuing the train of thought here. So when you look at then, okay, how do I control homocysteine besides taking a folate and methylcobalamin and L-methylfolate supplements? Well, there's a couple of other things too. The causes could be that you have too much red meat and dairy products, because that works against you, and that some people have something called the MTHFR, methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase deficiency, where they can't metabolize folic acid. So what that means is the folic acid is an essential vitamin. So if you can't metabolize folic acid, you're going to have healthcare issues.
Yes.
32 to 65% of the U.S. population has an MTHFR deficiency. Now, it varies by ethnicity, and mostly Asian people, unfortunately,
right,
are susceptible to the MTHFR deficiency. Now, when we transition from some of this negative conversation about free radicals and homocysteine, let's go to the positive. Those substances that we're talking about that come into our bodies, those free radicals, they're actually unstable. These are molecules that are missing an electron from their outer shell. So they go around looking to steal molecules from other cells, from blood cells, wherever they can. That's called oxidative stress. And that causes damage to our cells, because the unstable cells are attacking our healthy cells to supplement their deficiencies, right? The electron deficiency. And here we've already talked about some of this stuff, so I'm not going to go pesticides, smoke, all that kind of smoking all through that. But the negative effects here are that it weakens our immune system. And so when we weaken our immune system, then we are subject to or prone to more serious, long-term, even life-threatening diseases. There's a long list right here. But there's good news. Antioxidants. Here's the positive part.
yes,
The free radicals are unstable, but so are antioxidants. And they go around looking for somebody else to combine with, another molecule to combine with. And they're very happy to pair with an unstable free radical. So
interesting.
it's a fascinating concept. So what you want to do very simply is, get more antioxidants in our diets. I mean, for sure. And don't do stupid stuff to deplete our good antioxidants, especially glutathione.
Yes.
So we have a couple of products that I want to mention here just for a few minutes.
Yes.
One is Nufola, and another one is De Novo plus B12, actually.
Yep.
And both of these are well tolerated. They're active forms of the vitamins that we need. They're far grade. Some of the stuff we buy that's presented to us in advertisements, it's cheap, but it's not far grade. It's made in shops that aren't maybe inspected by the FDA, and they don't follow GMP procedures.
Correct.
So all the products that Magnum makes, that's what we do. We're basically a pharma company, and there are a handful or so of dietary supplements that I wholeheartedly believe in. Even though I just came down with a little bit of an allergy thing we got going on here. I just started stay here today. but I've got it a little bit better. And we
got a frog. You're fine.
I'm sorry. We have terrible air in Louisville right now. So there's a few ingredients in Nufola I want to mention. One is alpha lipoic acid.
Yes.
There's more and more research about ALA now. Quite interesting. And it's not only new research; it's been going on for decades.
Mm-hmm.
So ALA has a really unique characteristic in that it loves water and it loves fat. So what does that mean? It's amphiphilic. So amphiphilic means that alpha lipoic acid can go anywhere through any tissue in our body and do what it does so well, which is being an antioxidant. It directly scavenges ROS, reactive oxygen species, as I mentioned earlier, and other free radicals all over the body. It restores glutathione, it strengthens the immune system, and it has a direct anti-inflammatory effect. So in doing all this, it improves endothelial function. What's endothelial function? That's inside of our blood vessels. That's the smoothness of our blood vessels where blood can flow through without being impeded. And it does this also by increasing nitric oxide synthetase. That means nitric oxide synthetase, that's the enzyme that makes nitric oxide. Now, what does nitric oxide do? It causes vasodilation. What's vasodilation? It causes an expansion of the blood vessels. So it's got a tremendous number of benefits to it. It also improves mitochondrial function. Maybe from school we remember mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
That's right.
I always thought there was one mitochondria in a cell. No, many. And they call it mitochondrial fusion. So that's what we want. We want mitochondria fusing together so you have more output, more energy, and this helps reduce apoptosis, which is premature cell death. So what does that mean? Well, it means it may prolong longevity, and in fact, it may. There's some research that's controversial. That it may actually even prolong the lifespan because telomeres are lengthened, and those telomeres are the protective caps at the end of the human cell. So, a lot about alpha lipoic acid, but it's so good, and it's one of the supplements that I strongly believe that we should take in our diet. And there are, I don't want to go. I'm not going to go to this, but I just want to mention that there are so many clinical trials now, and I mentioned a few minutes ago, meta-analysis. This comes out of an article in 2021 where they go through this 3 pages. Wow. These are talking about improving neuropathic symptoms. This is neuropathy, nephropathy, that's the kidneys and diabetes. Yes. Improving blood circulation. Here it is in obesity and ALA and obesity. Wow. Obesity and schizophrenia.
And schizophrenia. Wow.
Right, because of the positive effects on nerve function, but with body weight, reducing body mass index, decreasing fasting glucose levels. Okay, another one. And then here we have even more studies where they talk about its reduction in inflammation and really the overall healthy aspects of ALA. So there's a couple of 3 other ingredients in Nufola. It has 4 ingredients. They're all B vitamins. Actually, methylfolate is vitamin B9, and there's folate, and then B6, then B12. So actually, folate's B9. I said that right, and then B6 and B12. So, nice. Yeah. So for DPN, diabetic peripheral neuropathy, we talk about these patients a lot because, unfortunately, they're victims of an overactive, or shall we say, underactive or dysfunctional immune system, where they have chronic inflammation, and it's a downward spiral. Unfortunately, that many physicians try to treat symptomatically, or they try to control blood sugar for sure, but they treat the underlying causes of the neuropathy symptomatically by giving drugs such as steroids or Neurontin or Lyrica. And so what we try to do with Nufola is actually facilitate or enhance the reconstruction of nerves and blood vessels that are lost in the lower limbs. In fact, we have to take a break. You need to interrupt me?
No,
So,
not yet. We're getting close to a break, but is this a good time to take a dip, take a short break?
No, I thought you were gonna. Okay, I'm sorry. My bad.
I'm writing down stuff you're saying. I'm just like I'm taking notes here, so it's all good.
So, but for diabetics, we have had so many patients who have come back to us and said, a few years ago, I was walking around, I had a nail in my foot, and I didn't even realize that I stepped on a board with a nail.
Because they didn't feel it.
Yeah. And then when I started taking Nufola, a few months later, my foot started waking up, and I started getting pain. I said, I don't know but I went through the pain. That's a stage that you go through because your nerves are being regenerated. Yeah, because why? Because your blood vessels are also being regenerated.
Right.
Through this formula, and it's remarkable how much we can help patients with diabetic peripheral neuropathy.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying we're not the panacea for every case, but we certainly can help.
Absolutely.
And not only are we helpful for the physical issues that come along with, say, diabetes and other diseases, but methylcobalamin and L-methylfolate, they play a key role in the brain's proper functioning.
Yeah.
Elevated mood, cognitive function, and reducing weakness and tiredness.
Absolutely.
So these substances, L-methylfolate and methylcobalamin, are so healthy for us, not only for our bodies but also for our brains. And what we do, and here's the label for Nufola, where it shows the vitamin B6, folate, B12, and alpha lipoic acid. But the other product we have that is more tailored, it's got the same ingredients basically, doesn't have alpha, is De Novo Plus B12. Right. De Novo Plus B12 has more L-methylfolate because when you're talking about mental function and mood, people that have depressed feelings, sadness, methylcobalamin stimulates serotonin creation. So methylcobalamin is a form of vitamin B12 that we use, and also L-methylfolate is very important in cognitive function. And these two substances together help protect the brain from toxins. And this is why in De Novo Plus B12 we use 15 milligrams of L-methylfolate, because we want that homocysteine to come down. We want the serotonin up because people are going to feel better. They're going to have a brighter mood. So,
yes, excellent.
Yeah, and go ahead.
And in the meantime, too, I know you've got so much to share, and I love this topic. The B12 and the De Novo is something that I love so much and have supported for a while now. And so you actually have a small commercial coming up that plays right in the middle of all. We might run that here in a second, but in the meantime, I know you've got a lot more. We were going to discuss all this, but in the meantime, tell people where they can find you and where they can find more information on all this.
Sure. You can go to www.magnaweb.com, simply magnaweb, MAGNA web.com, and you can go onto our website. We've got quite a bit of information. Whitney, who you met before, Dr. Pinkston, she's the one who runs our website as well.
Absolutely.
So she's an IT person. She does a really good job. So anyway, that's where you can.
Yeah. And you can go to drpbetterlife.com and not only find our previous shows, because we've done this a couple times and I love it. And so find more information, but you can also find information on how to contact them and acquire some of these products. And then, like I say, with the previous shows, get more information with it. So, Dr. Lester, we're going to take a short break, come back on the other side to learn more about Novo right now, and come back on the other side, and we will continue forward. This is beautiful.
Depression, anxiety, low energy, weakness, these are just some symptoms of low B12 levels. And the absorbable B12 folate supplement that's helping people declare victory over depression symptoms is De Novo Plus B12 by Magna Pharmaceuticals. Patients with symptoms of depression often exhibit low levels of folate and vitamin B12. The human body needs sufficient folate intake to produce the essential neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. These neurotransmitters alleviate feelings of sadness, anxiety, and gloom. What makes De Novo Plus B12 so successful? De Novo Plus B12 contains readily absorbable folate and B12. That means it's more successful at correcting the root cause of your deficiency, not just the symptoms. Whether you are suffering with low energy, depression, fatigue, or anxiety, you owe it to yourself to learn more at magnaweb.com. That's magnaweb.com. Please let us know at checkout that you heard about De Novo Plus B12 on The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.
I'm grinning right now. I had I think it was one of the last few guests, had sat, and you can see the commercial while we're waiting. And he came back and said, that is one of the best commercials and I love the product. Where can I get more information? It was wonderful. And he talked a lot about, nutrition and depression and whatnot in our last visit with him. And so he was amazed. Great product. And we have really appreciated the support and tried to support you in return. So we've got about 10, 15 minutes left. Dr. Lesser, continue, please. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
You're good. Thank you. Well, what it really gets me so enthusiastic and excited is that we are in business, of course, to make a profit, to make a living.
Sure, it's a business.
But we get a thrill out of being able to help people.
Amen.
And do it with a very reasonable price.
Absolutely.
Our products cost patients about $1 or $1.50 a day. That's all.
Right.
So
right. And it was traditionally a very expensive molecule to buy, or the vitamin to buy in the past. So yes, you have done very well. Thank you for that. Thank you.
It's interesting when products go off patent and
right.
The basic formula of Nufola without alpha lipoic acid was launched by Merck out of Germany.
Right.
And went off patent in 2017. So we were able to pick up, to market the formula, and then of course augment it a little bit with the addition of ALA. So it's interesting, but just I love what we're doing. Now the only one thing I want to mention here is that the methylcobalamin is water soluble. It plays a key role in the brain's proper functioning and blood flow, of course, but it also helps to reduce weakness and tiredness. In fact, some patients, after only 1 or 2 doses of Nufola or De Novo, for that matter, De Novo plus B12, talk about how much more energy they have. And it's not like they're running around crazy in a manic phase. And then some people, after they run out, they stop. They run out of product. They haven't taken it.
Always
big difference. So, and I feel it in the afternoons. I feel very good right now. But I mean, if I don't take it,
you feel it.
Energy can wane after lunchtime for sure.
Right.
Especially. So let me keep going here. So what does all this have to do with sleep, the immune system? Well, a lot. And we don't talk about how sleep in the immune system too often, but lack of sleep or a lack of enough sleep can disrupt the immune system and actually put us in a position where we can get sick more easily and more often. A lack of nightly sleep has been connected to short-term illnesses and the risk of chronic diseases. In fact, we talked about diabetes. If you're not sleeping well, it can exacerbate diabetes. In the short term, we're talking about what's enough sleep. It says, well, researchers say this comes out of the Sleep Foundation, so this is reputable. 2023. Talk about 6 or 7 hours a night as minimum. Some of the literature I read is 7 or 8 hours.
Right.
And if you don't get what you think is enough or what's good for you, it makes it more easy for you to catch the cold or the flu.
True.
If there is a lack of sleep, well, it can lead to long-term problems. People with healthy sleep, what happens? The reason that we get into issues is that inflammation during the night with enough sleep recedes back to normal levels before we wake up. But if we don't get enough sleep, then our immune systems, our inflammation doesn't go down. Systemic chronic inflammation, SCI, it doesn't go down. And then we put ourselves in a position where we're more susceptible to long-term illness. And we've talked about some of those. And down, there's another list right here: diabetes, cardiovascular pain, cancer. So depression, right? We just talked about the De Novo plus 12 related very. Now, if people who don't get enough sleep on a long-term basis, they learn how to get used to it and get through the day.
Right.
But what happens is that they compensate, but their bodies, their immune systems aren't compensating.
Right.
So their immune systems are still weakening, even though they're functioning, learning how to live with it. In the United States, interesting when you look at the epidemiology, the clustering of sleep disorders is prone to Southeast Appalachia, Great Plains, and those. Here's what's interesting. I found to be the insomnia variations mirror the prevalence of obesity, diabetes, and death rates from heart disease.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean that's pretty interesting. But when you think about it, well, that all has to do with inflammation and how inflammation affects sleep and how sleep affects inflammation.
Absolutely.
So, there are a number of reasons why people can't sleep. Work shift. Now, from a demographic standpoint, well, more than 1/3 of the United States people in the U.S. have less than 7 hours of sleep a night. More people need to be aware that, I'm toughing it out. I can go in 5 or 6 hours. Well, you might be able to, just like I mentioned, but that doesn't mean your immune system is functioning optimally.
Correct.
6 hours. People who have worksite shift policies in medical field included, it's tough on the immune system. So the other thing that's interesting here is that if patients have a comorbid condition, they sleep longer, but there's no evidence that longer sleeping in healthy people is deleterious. So that's kind of be good and bad, because if you're trying to get your teenager out of bed, I mean, I guess they could argue with you. So, well, teenagers do need more sleep for sure.
I understand that they get more neurological development, the longer you sleep. So if somebody has a stroke or has some sort of neurological condition, the fact that they sleep so long, after the event means their neurological system's healing, the brain tissue's healing, neuroplasticity is coming back. And so that may be what teenagers are doing, just developing their brain. Let them go.
Neuroplasticity is a fascinating subject.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
So much we don't even know about it. So we go on, but when you think about, just got to put this in perspective, almost everybody does have insomnia for whatever reason, stress, jet lag, some kind of stress. And for short-term insomnia, doctors may prescribe sleeping pills.
Right.
But
don't like that.
Long-term sleeping pills have some adverse effects. For sure.
Agreed.
And they're difficult management for example, there's 70 million people with chronic insomnia. So, the sleep specialists are alive and well for sure. They're very well needed. 40 million don't get treated.
I love that picture. And for those of you who are on the regular podcast, not watching YouTube, you might go to YouTube and look, a lady with a coffee, one of those coffee maker coffee pots, just pouring it straight into her mouth. That's absolutely true sometimes, isn't it? But we see people do that all the time, all day. Yeah.
And we compensate to function, but that doesn't mean we're doing it in a healthy manner.
Absolutely.
So the lack of sleep, there's 5 stages of sleep. The most important one, really from a restorative standpoint, which you talked about, Dr. Pinkston, for neuroregeneration, is REM. Yeah. And evidentiary for this is that infants spend 50% of sleep time in REM. So that tells us something coming right out of the chute there. But what I found interesting is that the first REM sleep period doesn't occur for at least 70 to an hour to an hour and a half after we fall asleep.
Correct.
So you got to fall asleep, you got to stay asleep to get into REM. But the cycle doesn't last that long. In fact, REM is only about 20% of our total sleep. But it's so important that if our REM is disturbed one night, our bodies follow the sleep cycle, but the percentage of REM is increased on subsequent nights.
Wow, so interesting.
The rapid eye movement sleep is what we want. There are drugs that interfere with REM.
Absolutely.
Caffeinated drinks we mentioned. PSE, pseudoephedrine, as a decongestant. We have PSE in our Stayist AD. We have it very low, 60 milligrams. But you can take PSE or caffeine. I mentioned caffeine taken too late, but if you take pseudoephedrine too late, it can also affect your sleep. Also, this is counterintuitive almost. An antidepressant, which is supposed to facilitate sleep, can actually suppress REM sleep.
Interesting.
We mentioned smokers, alcohol, the nightcap may help sleep latency, help you fall asleep. But the fact is, it robs your REM stage and your more restorative stages of sleep. And actually, people who drink alcohol late at night, they sleep more lightly and they're awakened more easily. During REM, if you wake up all of a sudden and you're cold or you're hot, our body temperature regulation is diminished, unfortunately. You don't want to wake up during REM. So cooler rooms have been proven to facilitate sound sleep.
Amen. I need to show that to my husband so he quits complaining about how cold it is in there, right?
65. You hang meat in there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But we all have psychological and stress factors. We work
Yes.
We really got job, finances, maybe marriage, coming events, all kinds of things. Prayer and meditation. Right before bed helps. Limiting electronic device usage right before bed. There's a plethora of evidence on this. And even the TV shows that we watch, are they disturbing, or are they somewhat? Now, this is really something. I was talking with a sleep specialist on Tuesday of this week. He's a renowned sleep specialist. He said that tinnitus and insomnia are woven together.
Amazing.
There are so many people that suffer from tinnitus. I have a little bit of tinnitus because I have some hearing loss at my age now. I've gotten some. And I started taking Nufola, and I talked with my sleep specialist about Nufola. And he said, I've been giving my patients Nufola, and I can't tell you, I'm telling you, the tinnitus is much better. And he said, I'll tell you why, because it helps improve the microcirculation in the inner ear, which helps the restoration of some of the
amazing
neurons. So insomnia from a sleep hygiene, all these things we want to think about. And I like to say, even though I'm a pharma guy, the less medicine you take, the better.
Absolutely.
And when you take a drug, consider the drug's half-life. For example, benzodiazepine, and the older barbiturates. I mean, your half-life goes on forever. So, I mean, these are 12 Xanax, 12 to 15 hours. And I'm not trying to say these drugs aren't any good because they do serve a purpose. But my point is they stay in your system for a long time. So if you do have an adverse effect, it's going to be a while before you're over that. And then your SSRIs, you're talking about depression. Look at these drugs. These drugs have incredibly long half-lives, which, again, is good from a convenience standpoint, dosage convenience. But when it comes back to adverse side effects, you can get these for a long time over in this right column right here. So think about the drugs you're taking for whatever you're taking, and try to stay with drugs that are in and out of your system. For example, we have a product called StayST, and it is troponidine. Now, recently, this is an antihistamine, so this helps people dry their secretions at night. It does help with postnasal drip, but in the Journal of Clinical Pharmacology, this was just a few years ago or 4 years ago, they came out with a study that compared troponidine with placebo. And they found in a good group of patients that people that were on troponidine had less side effects than the people who were on placebo. They fell asleep faster, they slept more soundly, and they woke up in the morning more refreshed than the ones who were on placebo.
Wow.
Because they slept better. But my point is, there's no morning hangover. And so with STST, you take one tablet at bedtime. Sometimes I can take two. The study was one or two. The label says one tablet. But it helps get a head start on the next day. You wake up with no antihistamine, and it's like $9.95 online, 30 tablets. Are you kidding me?
That's amazing.
We have a shipping charge of $7.49, but that's, come on, 50 cents for
that's still less than Allegra or Zyrtec or one of the more name brands, not knocking them, but one of the more, typical name brands, very expensive. So it's great.
Now, another common sleep antihistamine is diphenhydramine, but the half-life, the T1 half, is highly variable, up to 9 hours or 2. So it's longer in the elderly, and maybe adverse drug reactions may linger for 24 to 48 hours.
Correct.
So if you wake up, this is our daytime version of StayHist. It does have pseudoephedrine and chlorcyclazine. You don't take it at night, just like we were talking about. You don't take Sudafed. And this is a fabulous product because it has a lower dose of Sudafed. It has a antihistamine that's unique. I don't think there's another product on the market. I know there's not another one on the market that has chlorcyclazine as a tablet. So there's a summary. To improve our immune systems and try to optimize our health benefits, right? Do everything we can to increase the homeostasis of our immune systems. Whoops.
Yes.
I hit that. Okay. If we take Nufola and Denova plus B12, it can improve our cardiovascular effectiveness and efficiency because of why? Because of vasodilation, improve blood flow. We can improve nerve function, especially in the extremities. For example, diabetic patients with peripheral neuropathy.
Wonderful.
Give more energy, help our thinking process, help our memory. Because of more serotonin, we have a better outlook on life. We have better mood. There's virtually no side effects because these are dietary supplements. They're B vitamins.
Correct.
And hopefully with less free radicals and more antioxidants in our system and a healthier immune system, we can have a longer and better quality of life for not very much.
Right. It's beautiful.
And I got one more slide. Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, one more. Yeah, we're up against the wall here, but we are good. Yeah, one more is good.
In some previous conversations, Dr. Pinkston, we've talked about the importance of exercise. And we saw in earlier slides that obesity and just the lack of activity can deleteriously affect our immune systems.
Right.
So think about motion is potion for our immune system.
Absolutely.
And we want to do cardiovascular training. One study showed that 3 times a week, even 60% of maximum cardiac output for 20 minutes was amazing with respect to improving heart health. And resistance training, you better know what you're doing when you're weightlifting, but when you increase your muscle mass, you increase your myokines. Your myokines are the communicators between organs, among organs. So your whole body feels better. After you work out with weights, after you run, you feel better, you think better, you have more energy. It's a paradox. Yep. You don't fall asleep after you work out. You feel like running, going and doing going out.
True.
Make sure you have good hygiene, eat a healthy, balanced diet, which we've talked about. Fruits and vegetables high in antioxidants. Use olive oil big time. Take foods rich in folate and B12 and our medical director he's a really good eater of leafy vegetables and greens. But he takes the Novo Plus B12 and Nufola every day because he says, I just want to make sure I'm getting enough.
Oh, that's what it is.
And if we do the above, then we can keep our homocysteine levels lower. We can keep hopefully free radicals, most of them at bay, because we've boosted our immune system. We can feel better, have more energy, and hopefully have more vitality in life. So that concludes my.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. You had so many great tips, tinnitus, neuropathy, depression, just so many great tips. Thank you so much. You are a wealth of information and I absolutely adore you and thank you. And it's always an honor to have you on. I am going to say for you, please go to magnaweb.com. You can get lots of information there, but you can also go to drpbetterlife.com. As one of my sponsors, you are always represented there and I'm happy to have you there. And so also watch our previous shows and many more. But Dr. Lesser, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate you so much.
You're welcome. Likewise, I appreciate you too. Thank you.
All right. We will see Dr. Lesser again. And everybody have a fantastic week.
You've been enjoying The Better Life with Dr. Mary Ann Pinkston. For more information, go to drpthebetterlife.com. That's drpthebetterlife.com. And listen next week for The Better Life with Dr. Pinkston.